Now, the Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria, ASBON, has observed that 2024 was poised to be most of the difficult year in the history of micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs. ASBON President Dr. Femi Egbeshola underscored the necessity for the government to implement urgent reforms to tackle the challenges facing the private sector in the new year. He noted that while businesses were still contending with the repercussions of fuel subsidy removal, the floating of the naira and various other issues in 2023 and 2024 introduced additional severe challenges for the MSME sector. Now, Dr. Egbeshola pointed out that 2024 brought about hyperinflation, increased electricity tariffs, additional government levies, bank charges for electronic money transfers, rising fuel prices, a plummeting naira and elevated interest rates due to the hike in the MPR, all of which have contributed to the decline and potential demise of numerous businesses. Now, amid these difficulties, the latter part of the year saw the release of the long-anticipated federal government intervention fund, the introduction of a proposed national tax bill, and various other initiatives providing some relief to small enterprises. Nevertheless, Egbeshola expressed optimism stating that despite the current challenges, there is hope for a better and more prosperous future in this year. Now, as we continue with our outlook for the year 2022, we'll keep our eye on the SME sector today. Welcome to Business Insight on Plus TV Africa. I am Justin Akadonye. Policy reforms initiated such as the tax reform bills hold silver lining for businesses in the years to come, many believe. But meanwhile, although some factors impacting businesses this year may persist, or which impacted last year, or persist in 2025, knowledge management and exchange, reskilling and upskilling are essential for business success. Right now, I have the president of the Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria, ASBON, Dr. Femi Egbeshola, joining me now for more on this conversation. Many thanks for joining us on Business Insights, Dr. Egbeshola.
Thanks.
Okay, I don't know if you heard me, but I couldn't really hear you. But let's review year 2024 before we get on to the outlook for 2025. A whole lot happened last year, and many businesses were impacted, specifically the SMEs, the MSME sector. And not so long ago, you actually talked about some of these issues. Can you just maybe highlight some of them for us so we just get a bit of context?
All right. Thank you for the opportunity. 2024 is one of the worst year, if not the worst year, in the history of MSMEs, that is the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises in Nigeria. And the reason is that we are faced with avalanche of problems, of challenges back to back. Starting from mid-2023, when the new administration came up into power, we had the issue of a subsidy removal, which should help the prices of goods and commodity almost immediately, impacting on transportation, logistics, and cost of production. Right after that, we have the floating of the naira, which devaluated naira to about 300-400%. And that also impacted very negatively on us. We also had the issue of removal of tariffs here and there, removal of increase in tariffs also. We have increase in tariffs like in the area of electricity, which is one of the major driver of business processes in Nigeria today. We also had the issue of new taxes being introduced, adding to the burden of the already burdened MSMEs that we have in the country. This avalanche of challenges crippled a lot of businesses. While the number of businesses has to shut down, some are hailing, some have to downsize. In fact, some businesses have to downsize their staff strength to up to 70%, relieving about 70% of their workforce to the job market, making them jobless, and by extension, increasing poverty. We also have to see some of these businesses relocating from Nigeria to other countries. We have some of these business owners dropping their businesses, going back to pick 9-to-5 job, some going back to do menial job just to keep body and soul together. It is that bad. And we hope that 2025, we will be able to get something better than what we had in 2024.
Okay, speaking about something better for 2025, unlike what we had in 2024, specifically, there was a whole lot of hue and cry as regards the tax reform bills. Many say that it is a welcome development, but specifically for the MSME sector, what are we likely to see? Although some people say it's a bit of a silver lining for your sector, do you agree?
Yes, we do. To us, it's one of the best thing that will happen to us in 2025. The new tax bill, if it is eventually approved and it sees the light of the day, will positively impact the MSME sector. We have a lot of things that will work for us. One of it is that 50 all business owners that their turnover from 50 million naira annually and below be exempted from tax. That's a lot of good news for us because about 86% of the entire MSMEs are in the nano and micro sector whose turnover are less than 50 million naira, meaning that about 86% of the MSME sector will be exempted from tax. We also have the issue of reducing tax from about 60 something different taxes to just six. That to us is another good thing because now we know the exact tax to pay, where to pay it, how to go about paying it, and even being able to pay it through the online platform in the comfort of our offices or our homes. That also is a good news. One of the issues we have with taxes again is the issue of tax disputes, where we have to go to the final arbiter, which is the court, and this takes at times 2 years, 3 years before it is being resolved. This new tax bill brings about the Ombudsman Office, which helps to deal with tax issues and tax disputes, and will be resolved in 7 days. That to us is also good news. We also have a vast removal on almost all the commodities that has to do with the common man: food, agriculture, health, education, water, and a whole lot. All of this to us is good news, and we are praying that the new tax bill sees the light of the day.
Okay, aside from the tax bill, which is like a simmer of hope for small businesses, I spoke with some members of another small business group, NASME, and they were optimistic of for the year 2024. Specifically, they're talking about impactful government policies. Do you share the sentiment? I know you just talked about the tax regime, but what other opportunities do you see abound for the MSME sectors for this year 2025?
Yes, if you look at the recent survey that was done, looking at MSMEs across the different states in the country, it shows that 76% of the entire MSMEs are very hopeful and looking for a brighter and better future in 2025. And that is no gainsaying because we have some of the things on the table that gives us that kind of hope. The first thing we have to talk about is the new tax bill that is being proposed. Again, also, we are looking at the government policy about agriculture. Government is trying to revamp the agricultural sector and incentivize it from the beginning to the end of the entire value chain. We also know that if this is done, it will really help us because today food is the major pusher of inflation, and if food and agriculture is arrested and incentivized, it is going to bring down inflation, which will help our businesses. Again, also we have the issue of intervention fund now coming up to support MSMEs. One of the major challenges we had in 2024 was the inavailability of having access to SHIP fund. Interest rate was jacked up because of the CBN MPR increase from quarter to quarter, which makes it almost impossible for many MSMEs to have access to SHIP fund, and at the same time was unable to pay back bad loans because of the rate in interest rate, which even led to the death of some of the MSME operators because they could not bear the pressure. So in 2025, with the intervention fund coming up at single-digit interest rate and up to 5 million naira per obligor, we believe that this is really going to impact positively on businesses and help us to be able to do our operations better. Because many of us in our sector cannot really walk to the bank and get a loan and be able to pay back at 25, 30, 35, even at times 40 to 60% interest rate. Another thing that the government has also put on the table that to us is a big ray of hope is the issue of export. Government is now trying to support export, trying to put a lot of innovation in place to ensure that Nigerian-made goods are being exported to the outside shores of the country. And why that is the way to go. Reason is that because our naira is devalued, our products are now very cheap, but it can now compete favorably and competitively in the global market because it is cheap. So all we need now is a push to be able to now standardize our product and be able to push it to other countries, even using the platform of AFTA to African countries and also go out to American countries and other platforms to also the many other countries we have in the global space. And that for us will help us to end foreign exchange, help us to stabilize our naira, and put more profits for us in our bank accounts as business owners. Again, too, we said we are working on how to improve on our own, how we can do our business in a more creative and innovative way in Nigeria. That's what we have done for ourselves. One of the ways we have been able to do this is that we saw that consumers no longer have that purchasing power to buy much as they used to do before. So we have gone on light packaging or small size packaging. Many of us now reduce the sizes of our product to smaller sizes that the consumer can easily afford and buy. We have also decided to embrace each platform, e-commerce platform, to sell our products. So our products are now not within this small space where we operate our business, but in the global space through e-commerce platforms. We have also been able to see how we can support ourselves with funding by going to cooperatives. Many of our associations now that we have in Nigeria have very strong cooperative societies that are able to lend to members at single-digit interest rates and with less cumbersome requirements for them to be able to access the fund. Again, too, one innovative thing we've been able to do is to build our capacity in the area of technology. We've been able to leverage on technology to support us in doing our business in a whole lot of ways. We've also leveraged on social media too. Social media has also helped us to be able to push our product and services to the global market and give us a bigger, larger market where we can sell and even sell with better prices. We have also looked at how to cut down the cost of production, or transportation rather, and this has taken us to the issue of using logistics for the delivery of our products and services rather than the way we used to do it all by ourselves before. All of these has, in a way, reduced cost of production and cost of our products and services at the end of the day. And we believe that we can improve on this in 2025. And with the new policies of government coming up, we also believe it is going to help us to ease doing of business. One of the major things that we appreciate that is being done now, that we believe is also going to be a gain for us in 2025, is the rejigging of the federal government cabinet. We've been able to see now that some of these ministers that were not performing has been dropped, and technocrats are now put in place. For example, in the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, we now have someone who has been in that sector for over 2 decades and understand the workings and the doings of the MSMEs and even the larger companies in Nigeria. And we believe that this is going to rub off on all of us in 2025, helping us be able to trade better, to do our product better, and even influence economic policies. We've also been able to see that government this time is now willing more than ever before to collaborate with key stakeholders in the MSME sector. We've been clamoring and advocating that government needs to really work with those who are key stakeholders in every sector for them to be able to get their policies right. We need to create the policies together, own it together, implement it together, and monitor it together. That's the only way we can get a different result. This government is now beginning to look in that direction, and we believe that very soon, all of this adding up together will begin to take some baby steps that will lead us to where we want to be.
That you have said in terms of the SMEs sector. But I just wanted to get your opinion concerning funding and financing for SMEs for the year 2025. I know sometime late last year there was the intervention fund by the federal government and all of that. But specifically, this proposed national credit guarantee system, do you think it will prove to be a game changer for the MSMEs sector for Nigeria?
Yes, if it sees the light of the day, it's going to be a big lift for us in the MSME sector because many of us do not have the kind of collaterals that the bank requests for. So the guarantee scheme, with the credit guarantee scheme, will help us to be able to push that aside and be able to overcome that big order that has been disturbing us from having access to finance over the years. But one thing about Nigeria is that it's a thing to talk about policy. Another thing is to see it implemented. You'll remember that about 2 years ago, the collateral registry was being approved and it came to be, whereby if you have anything in your house, be it a laptop, your net chain, your fridge, your freezer, your television, you can pledge it to the collateral registry and have access to funding. But even till today, we've not seen it happening. So we just hope that this credit guarantee scheme will happen and happen soon. Again, apart from the credit guarantee scheme that the government is putting on the table, we are also seeing that a new bill was passed towards the middle or towards the end of last year, which is the startup bill, whereby those who are in the startup category will be able to receive funding without collateral and at single-digit interest rates. One of the major issues we have with startups in Nigeria is that about 80% of them die before their 50th anniversary. And one of the major issues is funding. So this startup bill, if it comes to be, will also be able to help resuscitate that sector, incentivize that sector, and help us to have more thriving startups and nano businesses coming up and metamorphosing to micro, small, and medium-sized businesses over time. We also believe that government needs to do more than what they are doing. And we are happy that we have a lot of organizations, particularly international organizations, now coming to Nigeria to support in the area of funding and even giving out single-digit interest rates to support. We have the Development Bank of Nigeria now playing in that sector. We also have the African Development Bank, AFDB, also coming up to see how they can support Nigerians, and particularly MSMEs, with funding at single-digit interest rates. Yes, the development banks that the federal government has are doing what they can, but it is a drop in the ocean. We look forward to government creating more intervention banks, more development banks that can cater for targeted needs of the MSME. This particular sector needs all the attention of government. Remember, we create about 87% of employment, and we own about 96% of all the businesses in Nigeria and contribute about 50% to the GDP. This sector cannot be neglected or overlooked. If we want our economy to grow, everybody's hands must be on deck to ensure that this sector grows, scale, and is able to sustain and improve our economy.
Okay, as we begin to round off now, Dr. Egbeshola, lots of businesses, like you said, wound up in 2024. Lots of SMEs, that is, that they felt there was no reason really doing business in Nigeria because of the tough economic climate. What would you advise people who I begin to may have a leap of faith, and that like maybe something good just may happen this year? Maybe I might just try again to start that business that I have been talking about for years. So what would that advice be for someone who wants to start a small business and he was discouraged by the things that he saw in 2024? What would your advice for him be?
Well, the first is that he needs to have the mindset that the challenges we're having in Nigeria is not peculiar to Nigeria alone. It's a global issue based on the research we have done. Wherever you go in the country today, they have their own peculiar issues affecting businesses and MSMEs. So the best thing for you to do is to stay here. The next is that you should be able to draw a line between what you want government to do for you and what you can do for yourself, and concentrate more on what you can do for yourself. The ability to concentrate more on how to help ourselves is what brings about the innovative and creative ways of doing business that I mentioned before. So all business owners, intended business owners, or those who are already in business must begin to look inward and see how they can do business differently and get it right this time. We also must also understand that Nigeria still have the biggest market in Africa, one of the biggest in the world, and the best way to go about it is to be in a market where you have enormous opportunities and global markets to be able to sell your products. So Nigeria is one of the best places to be. Again, too, we are also looking at so many policies of government that are coming up that are positive and going to impact better on the businesses. So it is better for MSMEs now to begin to look at how they can tap into these opportunities and take advantage of them. For us, we believe that Nigeria is one of the best places to do business. For us, we believe that we must continue to stay put and defend our country and do everything to make it right. We believe that one day the economy will be right, and we'll continue to now produce what we eat and eat what we produce.
All right, Dr. Egbeshola, I must say a very big thank you to you for joining us on Business Insights today. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, indeed, we have been looking at year 2025 outlook, of course, what it looks like for the small and medium enterprises. And my guest was Dr. Femi Egbeshola, President of the Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria. That's the size of the show for today. I must say a very big thank you to all of you who have sat back to watch. My name is Justin Academy. I'll see you again next time.